biggest thing that happens, that I'm talking to this person where it feels like we're having this great connection. When my brain says, I like this person, then it leads to I trust this person. So our brain, if we're not careful, starts to ignore some of those things. So one of the most powerful questions that anybody, especially women, could ever ask is, what is the biggest thing you learned about yourself during that time? So working at a stressful job, a past relationship, going through anything stressful, some kind of conflict in somebody's life. You ask that one question, like, what's the biggest lesson that you learned about yourself during that? And when you have narcissists, and all psychopaths are narcissists, but not all narcissists are psychopaths. Mm-hmm. But you'll get a response from that person where it's typically blaming. Nothing was wrong with them. They didn't really need to learn anything about themselves. They didn't need to develop anything. They didn't need to grow. So you'll hear a lot of answers like that. So you're going to hear on the red flag side, you're going to hear, I learned not to trust people so quickly. I learned not to get involved with this type of person. I learned that people can't be trusted. I learned that you get hurt no matter what. And on the other side, you'll hear people, like on the healthier side, you'll hear people say, well, I definitely learned that I need to be more open. I kind of concealed everything, and I was too controlling. And you'll hear admissions that are honest and genuine and forthcoming. So that one question is super powerful. And the second thing to look out for.
Can I ask you one follow-up question before we go into the second thing? Because this is super important. What's the difference between someone answering like that who's a narcissist or a psychopath compared to someone that's just wildly insecure and they can't take personal ownership?
That's a beautiful follow-up question. So when you have somebody that has like a lot of self-consciousness and insecurities and things like that, they're going to start to answer that question in a way that looks reserved. You're going to see body language movements that are like incomplete, like they'll reach for a drink and it'll have little tiny pauses in it. So this is called like an unfinished movements. Like you'll see a lot of that. You'll see hesitation and reservation in their behavior. So they'll stop a little too long to think, or they'll worry about how they're being perceived with the answer. So the person who's a little bit insecure about what they're saying, you'll see their head go down, the shoulders come up a little bit. We call this turtling in body language. So anytime somebody's experiencing fear, the number one thing that your body does is protect arteries. So like you'll see this bone right here, the humerus, will come closer in to protect this brachial artery. The shoulders will come up a little bit more. The hands will kind of come around this stomach that doesn't have any bones in front of it. I think if you just watch the person, you don't have to study body language at all. Does their body start to become more closed as you ask that question? And that's the way that you would spot somebody with some insecurities.
Amazing. Thank you. That's so specific. Okay. Yeah. So sorry to interrupt you. The second part?
So the second thing to look out for is, and this is especially true with narcissists, they will very rarely have local friends. Their friends are out of town, they're in another state, they're in another city, they live in another country, and all of their friends are weirdly out of town or they live somewhere else. That's one of the big red flags that I've seen in like 99% of cases. Wow. And I've interviewed a lot of people about this stuff.
And is that just because they can't maintain close friendships? Is that the indicator?
They have a great ability to maintain occasional friendships, but they don't have the ability to spend lots and lots of time with a person for an extended period without something happening, like the relationship starting to crumble, like we had a falling out, or that guy's a dick, or they're going to say something like that for any reason they don't have any local friends. But if they're faking it, they're going to run out of steam. They're going to run out of gas at the 2-3 hour mark, and you're going to start seeing little cracks in that facade that person's trying to present.
So what do the cracks look like?
The cracks look like I'm seeing a steady behavior, I'm seeing good posture, I'm seeing good eye contact, their movements are fluid, and then all of a sudden I'm starting to see a lack of facial expressions. I'm seeing them, instead of breathing into their stomach, they're breathing into their chest. I'm seeing stress increase because their actions are not demonstrative, they are performative. And that's the biggest thing that I think people should learn to spot the difference between, am I seeing a performance versus a demonstration of this person's natural thoughts and their feelings and what they're thinking. And I'll say, maybe this is a random number 3, If I have a conversation with somebody, we're at a restaurant, we're at a bar, and I've met someone new, and I just feel fantastic. Like I'm almost like I'm meeting me. I'm meeting the exact thing I'm looking for. And after the conversation, you don't feel good anymore. That's the biggest sign, is how you feel inside after the conversation stops. And if I have a genuine conversation with a genuine person who's not manipulating me, I'm going to keep feeling good after that conversation, because that's rooted in serotonin and oxytocin, all these connection chemicals. If I instantly feel this crash after a conversation, that conversation was rooted in dopamine. So that person was able to find all of these little triggers. And it's not, there's no textbook out there that says Psychopathy 101, here's how to manipulate people. They grew up doing this. So once we get to the point where we're understanding that, people say, like, this is how to permanently disarm a narcissist. You're not going to do that. That's not going to happen. These are lifelong patterns of behavior that take a lot to overcome.
You're so freaking good at identifying the small little things that people don't even realize they're giving off. And there's a video where you were on a Zoom call with a friend watching him talk to his girlfriend, I believe. And after the call, after like 4 seconds, you went, she's lying.
Yeah. So if you're looking for deception, you need to focus more on open-ended questions than closed-ended questions. Because you're not going to get a lot of body language out of somebody going, nope. That's tough. So what I told them to ask her was, tell me about last night. So that, and again, that's not even a question. And it makes it less of an interrogation, because you're like, oh, tell me about last night. What all happened?
Versus, what did you do last night?
Right. And that's like an interrogation type of question. Tell me where you were last night. What did you do? Who did you hang out with? So I'm kind of just making a statement instead of a question. So the brain doesn't react like it's trying to defend itself. So the moment that happened, we're starting to see nonverbal responses. And so I was just kind of like off camera looking at his phone. And I knew her baseline because I've spoken to her maybe for 2 minutes before in the past. So number one, the first thing is, we tend to look a certain direction to access information, but everyone's different. And anybody listening right now, you could test this on all of your friends, and I'll test it on you right now so we can see it on the podcast.
All right, let's do it.
What is the 7th word of your favorite song?
The 7th word.
All right, so down left is called internal dialogue, and that's 99% of people.
Oh.
So if I'm running through words in my own head, I'm going down and left. So now we kind of have a baseline of a person. So the number one thing that we need to look for when it comes to human behavior is, can I detect a change? It doesn't matter if a person, it says, oh, you see all these books, like somebody doesn't look you in the eye, they're scratching their face, they cross their arms. If they do that all day long, those behaviors are meaningless, because that's their baseline, that's their normal behavior. So what we're looking for is a change. So the first change was this eye movement deviation. So she looked down left for a prolonged period, which is like, let me think about what to say. Mm-hmm. Right when she started talking about everything, her blink rate, which is how often we blink, shot through the roof. So let's break this down really quick. When we talk about blink rate, this is how often a person is blinking. And we typically say blinks per minute. And the more often we're blinking, the more stressed out a person is. And the less often we're blinking, the more focused a person is. So if I'm sitting here and I'm about to give you horrible information, like you're sitting there and your doctor comes in the room and is like, all right, why don't you have a seat here? You're going to almost stop blinking. So that's focus. So during high focus, it's like 3 or 4 blinks a minute during extreme focus. And during stress, like when I'm taking like the math portion of my SATs, my blink rate is like 75 per minute. And the cool thing about blink rate is I can instantly see it in someone, because we look into each other's eyes all the time when we talk to other people. And it's an unconscious behavior. So one thing that we saw right away in the video is blink rate. Her blink rate was about a 15 or 20, which is the average in conversation, and it shot up to about an 80
Wow.
when she was explaining what she did last night. And that's a solid indicator of stress, not deception. There is no behavior of deception. It doesn't exist. So we're looking for changes to normal behavior and stress. And then am I seeing a cluster, not just one thing? So if people say, oh, he did this one thing, he's lying, you need to look for multiple things. Like he lost fluency, he hesitated more than often, his eyes went in a different direction, his blink rate went up, he reached across and covered his abdomen, his turtles went up, or his shoulders went up and did this like turtling behavior. And we're looking, that's a cluster, right? So when I see a cluster of behavior, I know that I'm not saying that someone's lying, I'm saying the likelihood is drastically increasing because I'm seeing this cluster. So the cool thing is, like, if you're studying blink rate, you don't need to sit there and count per minute blinks of a person. You never want the time that you use a technique to be at the moment when it's most needed. So practice it at Starbucks, practice it at the grocery store, practice it in your Zoom meetings. So what you do is you start a conversation. Does the blink rate look pretty average, fast, or pretty slow? That's it. So what is the baseline here? And your goal is to look for change. So am I seeing blink rate slow down, stay the same, or speed up? So it's such a great indicator because it's built into our mammalian part of our brain and our brainstem. We're not aware of it, and we're looking at people's eyes already. So it's such a beautiful indicator of stress and focus. Here's where it gets into narcissism. And let me know if I'm droning on too long.
No, I'm loving this.
Okay.
I feel like my eyes haven't blinked.
Oh, good.
I'm that focused.
I think your blink rate was an 8.
Oh, really?
Before I said that, yeah.
All right, guys, we'll be right back with Chase Hughes, but just for one moment, I want to ask you, if this episode or any other Women of Empath episode has ever brought value to you, please smash that subscribe button down there, because you have no idea how much that becomes the calling card to women out there, that you can come to a place, build your confidence, feel safe, feel like someone's got your back, and be part of this community, no matter what you're struggling with. So smash that subscribe button down there. Thanks for listening, guys. Now, back to the episode.
So if I'm doing a good job, I'm going to have this low blink rate. And the way that it gets into narcissism is, especially into psychopathy, you start talking about some of your vulnerabilities and their blink rate drops to 0. So like the moment, let's say you and I, we don't know each other, we're both single, we're on a date somewhere, and you start talking about how you're really insecure or paranoid about this thing. You start exposing this little flaw in yourself that normal people would go, oh yeah, I do that too sometimes. But the moment you see someone just laser focus on you, the moment you get into those vulnerabilities and insecurities, that's a big deal.
Why wouldn't that mean that you're so focused because you're so into it?
Right, you can be. So I might be really focused and into it and then kind of show empathy on my face. You'll see this little muscle right here, that's called the grief muscle. So it makes this little horseshoe shape, and it's almost impossible to fake. So when you're talking about something that's vulnerable or sad, or maybe some of your insecurities or something like that, you're going to see like some social mirroring on that. You'll see someone's forehead go up, and they'll kind of mirror that with you. That they don't have to verbally say anything. But if I'm talking about insecurities, I see a drop in blink rate, and I don't see any facial resonance. Or if I'm talking about something really exciting, see my eyebrows go up, yours went up instantly because you have empathy. And an interesting thing is that about 85% of people, even if they're total strangers, and you do this and you say good morning, oh hey, good morning, they mirror it without even knowing that their forehead did that, because they have true empathy. So this is so difficult to fake. And then you're seeing a lack of that when you're talking about something that's vulnerable or sad or anything like that, and you're not seeing that kind of like that empathetic look on somebody's face, like, God, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. Those are very big indicators, and they're like, I would say close to 100% of the time, you're going to see a lack of affect. So that person is not empathetically affected by you saying something revealing or vulnerable about yourself, or like getting more open. And the other piece would be they become more focused. Like Lisa starts talking about her insecurities, vulnerabilities, that's my opportunity to learn how to control you.
Makes complete sense.
So that's very valuable information to me. So you're going to see blinks start to decrease. You're going to see a lack of recognition on the face. So I taught this group of women these like 10 things on how to spot narcissists on the first date. And one of the biggest ones, and we covered the top 5. And one of the top 5 was, if this person is talking about something vulnerable about themselves, psychopaths do not enjoy doing this. And they feel like it makes them feel or look weak or inept or vulnerable in some way. You're going to see their body start closing up while they're talking about being open, or they're pretending to be open verbally. They're physically closing off. You'll see their hands pull in. You'll see their arms draw back toward their body a little bit. You'll see them lean back a little bit, cover the abdomen. And mostly in men, you'll see this genital protection. So you'll see hand going from here, because you'll see in all these YouTube videos and all these body language articles, they show you these still images of someone crossing their arms. Every single time, that I would say for everyone watching this, every time you see a still image, don't ever let that sit in your head. Make it a movie, make it a little GIF, an animated thing, because you want to watch for change, right? So let's say the moment you ask me what I learned about myself in a stressful situation, and I'm like, yeah, I actually learned a whole lot about myself. So like my arms are coming in to protect, and I'm going into this like genital protective behavior. And verbally, I'm becoming very open. I might even have some forehead display and all of that, but everything else is kind of closing off. So it's also what we're seeing in this, like a manipulative style of behavior. Like you're seeing a fake openness and you're seeing a closed body, or a closing verb body. So the movement of becoming more closed.
And it's the contradiction of the two. It's the combination of things together that make up an identification versus one thing in and of itself.
Yes. So you want to look for those clusters as much as you can.
Right, got it. Okay, in talking about that woman that you were witnessing, that after like 4 or 5 seconds you're like, yeah, she's lying. There were other things that you said that you had identified that were also signals that were more verbal. So I believe it was something like she dropped the pronouns.
Yeah. So when a person is being deceptive, they'll typically use less pronouns. So if I said, Lisa, what did you do last night? You'd probably walk me through, well, I had dinner, I watched a movie, if I checked some emails, washed my face, I got into bed, and I set my alarm clock and I went to sleep. If I ask somebody who's being deceptive, like let's say I asked some guy in an interview room, what did you do Wednesday night? And he says, well, left the office, checked some emails, left the office around 5, went to the liquor store, went home, played video games, went to bed. No pronouns. There's no I, there's no me, none of that. Dr. Pennebaker wrote a book called The Secret Life of Pronouns, and how they become absent when somebody's being more deceptive. But the CIA has been teaching this for a while. So you heard the pronouns drop, and that whole conversation, she was fluent, exactly like both of us are speaking right now, that she wasn't struggling for words. Everything just kind of came out naturally. And then he said, tell me about last night. What all happened last night? And she was like, well, then the pronouns went away, and she had what's called a hesitancy and a loss of verbal fluency, where she struggled for words, and because we don't really typically have to do that when it's truthful. Then we have chronology. So when you say like, oh, what happened last night? If the biggest thing that we did was we went to a giant rave, and it was like the hugest thing that we did last night, and somebody says, oh, what happened last night? You're going to say, we went to this rave. You're not going to say, well, I started getting ready at 5:15, then I did this, then we drove to this rave, but before we did the rave, I got some gum.
You're so right.
You're not going to go into chronology. You're going to go into the biggest thing that happened, right? And I'll throw a caveat here. If you say, tell me what happened last night from beginning to end, then you can't knock them for that. Yeah. So, but if you say like what happened last night, and someone just goes into this like chronological recollection, it very, very likely, especially if you're hearing it with those other indicators, is very likely to be deceptive. So just as an example, you have said the alphabet 50,000 times, maybe 100,000 times in your life, we struggle to tell it backwards
Yeah.
because we rehearsed it forwards. So if you hear one of these chronological stories going forward like that, and they're not mentioning the big event first, like if you got in a car accident, God forbid, like yesterday, and I was like, Lisa, what's going on? What happened yesterday? And you're like, oh, I got in a car accident. You're not going to say, I woke up at 6:30, I brushed my teeth, and then kind of lead up into it. So if I hear chronology, I might say something like, so you said you went to bed at 9, and that's when you kind of drove home. Take me from there and walk me backwards. What happened before that? So no matter how many times you rehearse a story in the correct order, when someone asks you to kind of walk backwards, you really, really struggle. But if I asked you from right now when we sat down on these couches, what happened, and walking backwards to this morning when you woke up, you could do that.
Because it actually happened.
Because it's real.
Oh.
But if we have this chronological thing that's a rehearsed story that's not true, we really struggle to go backwards for.
That's so good. The way you explained about the ABC as well, I totally get it. Yeah. So you're recalling on your memory, and that's why you can actually say it backwards, because it's memory versus a memorization.
Yes. Very good. I'm going to actually steal that.
Oh, go for it. Okay.
Looks good on a Post-it note.
Yeah,
That's
it does.
great.
My pleasure. Fascinating. Okay. I would be remiss not to ask. My audience will probably kill me if I don't. So you said you obviously teach women narcissists, and you say you usually go over the first 5. What are the first 5?
I think we've covered 4.
Okay.
So far. The final one is a bait question. So this is something that is taken from interrogation. And I'll give you the interrogation stuff first.
Okay.
So it'll be more fun. So in the interrogation, we use this thing called the punishment question. And the punishment question is, what do you think should happen to the person who did this? And the best example is when I did this with my children. I was on active duty in the military, and I come home from work one day, I'm in my camouflage outfit, and I walk in, our living room carpet is like as white as the carpet in here, and there's a little carton of chocolate milk just sitting on its side in this big pool of chocolate milk on the carpet. And I said, guys, who knocked this milk over right here? And I looked at my son, I was like, William? And he said, nope. Charlotte? Nope. I was like, all right, William, kitchen, Charlotte, dining room.
This is amazing. You're interrogating your kids. This is so good.
Yeah. So I said, Charlotte, did you spill that milk in the living room? No. What should happen to the person that spilled that milk? She goes, spankings, grounded, no Xbox, can't go outside, no more electronics, can't play anymore. Just kind of goes on this huge list.
Oh, she knows it's her brother just by that, right?
Yeah. But I mean, even if these people don't know each other, you'll have a severe reaction and a soft one. So I went up to my son. I said, William, did you spill the milk in there? No. What should happen? What do you think I should do to the person who spilled that milk in the living room? And he goes, no more chocolate milk in the living room? With a question mark at the end. Oh. So it's just such a great question, and it's so powerful. And I'll give you one more interrogation technique that can apply in a lot of these dating scenarios too. When the scenario that I gave to this women's group was to automatically bring up the 800-pound gorilla, to bring it up and say, you know what, there's so many women out there that can get involved with manipulative psychopaths on the first date or in their dating life, and they don't even know that they're dealing with a psychopath. And you bring it up directly, and you watch exactly how that person starts to respond. Do they start breathing into their chest more? Does their blink rate start going up? And then the second part of this question that we taught to this group was, so in your opinion, I know these guys are out there, what do you think should happen to these people that are these manipulative guys that go on dates with these girls? That's where the question comes in. Mm-hmm. And you're going to reveal so much so fast just by asking a question like that. So in the interrogation room, it's what should happen to the person that did this? If they are that person, you're pulling all of that power out and you're letting them know that you may not be the right target. or the right mark. But you're also watching, do they get nervous? Do they sit back? Do they get more defensive? Do they start blinking more often? Am I seeing all this stress come up in their body the moment that I put that elephant right out there on the table?
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. It's these little things that I wouldn't even think about that end up, they do reveal who they are. And that's why, thank you for sharing a lot of this. I think that these are moments where if we can really take these tools and implement them, it could potentially save either people's lives or just heartbreak. I mean, it can save so many women. So thank you.
And to throw one more thing onto that is, I want you to take one of your friends who was involved with a narcissist and start talking about how he manipulated her right in front of this person. And watch how they react. Watch his behavior. And in most real people are gonna be like, that's disgusting. That's horrifying. And then some people will be like real quiet about it. You'll see their lips tighten up. And if you see lips squeezed together, every time that's withheld opinions. Every time. Think if you ask me Chase, how do you like your new job? And I'm like, oh, it's great. There's opinions being withheld, right? So be on the lookout for that, especially when you bring up those elephants in the room. And I would say when the interaction is beginning, be okay with openly talking about narcissism. Your friend got involved in it. It's not you. Don't talk about yourself. Your friend got involved with it. It was so horrible. It's so hard to detect these people. And if they go, yeah, it's disgusting, I hate that behavior, which a narcissist can do, then you go, what do you think should happen to that kind of person? So it leads into that question.
That was amazing.
The more sensitive information you need, the less questions we need to be asking. So the first type of elicitation is a provocative statement. And this is any statement that elicits a response. So when we use statements, the brain feels like it's voluntarily giving the information not in response to a question, so that the information is something that naturally comes up and it doesn't feel like they're engaged in anything where something is being revealed. That's taboo, right? And this is used to get secrets from other country intelligence officers and stuff like that. It's very effective. And this will typically start with the words so or I bet. So somebody says they are an accountant, you say, I bet that has got to be stressful. I didn't ask a question. He's going to talk about the stress, the stuff they deal with. And then right after he's done, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of that, I'll say, wow, that is remarkable how you just put up with that day in and day out. There's got to be something rewarding about it, though. I didn't ask a question. So now they're going to double down on the negativity. Their boss is an asshole. They're going to keep going into that. And then let's say we're continuing to use elicitation, and I want more data to just keep flowing out. Now I'll switch over to disbelief. And they say, it's this bad and this bad. My manager's a dickhead. Oh, I got to do all this stuff. And I'm like, there is no possible way that your job is that bad. It's got to be because I've talked to people who work for the same company before, and they seem like they really enjoy what they do. That's it. That's all I have to say. And that's disbelief. It's not I'm calling somebody a liar, but I'm saying there's no way it's that stressful. I've talked to some people that work at that company. It's like, oh my God, you have no idea. And you're going to hear more information come out. And so in a persuasion scenario, I'm using this technique to make your brain think that you're talking to a friend, because if I get them to complain or I get them to start giving up information, your brain now says, oh, he is a friend, he is connected to him. So we've gone from a provocative statement to a little bit of disbelief, and then we have something called triggering the need to correct the record, which comes after that. This is a technique that was initially invented, I think, in the 80s by a guy named John Nolan. So if you and I were standing at Erewhon, which is like Whole Foods for anybody watching that's not a Californian, and I'd say, Lisa, I want you to go figure out, there's somebody stocking baby carrots over there. You go figure out how much they make in under 60 seconds, and you're not allowed to use any questions. That's tough, because the money is a sensitive topic, right? We can't say, hey, how much do you make for a living? But what if you went up to that person who's stocking these baby carrots and you asked for help And on the way, you said, I can't remember where it was, but I saw this article that said everybody who works at Aero One just got bumped up to $28 an hour. That is fantastic. I'm really glad that you guys are doing that. And they look at you like, what? Everybody here makes 19 unless you're a manager, unless you're whatever. So you've got the information that you need. So that's called triggering a need to correct the record. And there's many other techniques you can do, but some of those, you can get people to start revealing their true self. You can get sensitive information. So the rule of thumb is the more sensitive the information that you need, the less questions you need to be asking. It needs to be statement driven.
That's amazing. And so I always think about these things as being able to work both ways. So it's if you want to get the truth out of somebody, but also again, going back to if you're worried about being manipulated without your knowledge, these are things that you can start to be aware of. So you talk about something called fog and kava? I don't know how to pronounce it.
However you like.
Okay, kava, there you go. Talk to me about those strategies and what we can learn from them as a female worried about being either around a psychopath or a narcissist or dating one.
So kava is all about end results. So I'm either seeing control, acceptance, validation, or attention. That's the only four things you're going to really see one of these guys look for. So is their behavior about control, some kind of acceptance or something like that? I need to be accepted. Validation, I need you to see how smart I am, how tough I am, how cool I am, how strong I am, how powerful I am, whatever, or attention. So anytime we're with any narcissist, you need to understand those internal operating system of that CAVA acronym of what am I seeing this person do? And it's crystal clear. Once you just understand that acronym, I can tell this person's not about controlling my time and all this stuff. They're not about making sure that they fit into this group, or they're some kind of weird conformist. They don't need validation all the time. It's just my attention. They're craving my attention. So whatever their desired outcome is also their greatest fear of loss. So now we know what they're most afraid of losing is the attention, right? Or the control.
So how would that actually then look, let's say in the dating world, what actions would happen? Would it be they're trying to take you away from that person that's close to you because they need the attention?
Yes, so there's two ways. There's carrot and stick. So you start, let's call him Billy, your 8th grade buddy that you still talk to. So I just see all these Facebook notifications for like Facebook Messenger on your phone. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And I see you responding to him a lot. I don't say anything to you, but all of a sudden I order flowers to the house. I'm doing all this kind of crazy stuff because I think your attention's elsewhere. So I'm using carrot at this point to make sure I've got all of your attention. So that's carrot. And the stick is I confront you and I say, hey, this is either me or him. You're like, bro, we like jumped on trampolines together 30 years ago. Like, it's not a big deal. But that's when you'll have that conversation, like it's me or him. And there's a carrot and a stick for all of these. So if I want to control you and I don't want to be like, dictate what you're allowed to do, where you're allowed to go, I'm going to make it really good. I'm going to try to structure our time together to where we're going to do fun stuff. We're going to a church that I picked. We're going to fill in the blank. So I'm just going to structure your time, your focus, and your energy. So I'm in kind of control of where you're going, but I'm doing it in a way that it looks to you like we're doing things together.
And I've heard, it was Dr. Ramani actually that said, just try and change plans on a narcissist, see how they respond.
Yeah, especially if it's the control. If it's attention, then that will be okay. And if it's validation, and you try to change plans and say, hey, we're going to this other thing, that's going to piss them off. If you say, hey, we're going to do this other thing because I know you're into this, this, and this, and everybody admires you because of those things, and I think this would be the perfect thing to do. So you give the validation. So you're learning how to control and how to like start taking psychological control over the narcissist. And the second thing is to learn what they're using is the FOG acronym. And this is fear, obligation, or guilt. Those are the three things that people are going to use to either get your control, your attention, your approval, your acceptance, or whatever else they're trying to get from you is through FOG, fear, obligation, and guilt. So those are, I think, mostly easy for most people to get, but when you start seeing it, that's one of the times that you can start calling things out, but you do it in a way that's non-confrontational. So if I have somebody here that says, like, if you do this again, this is going to happen. Then you start calling it out and say, wait, just so I understand, you are wanting me to do this, this, and this. And if I don't do this, you're going to do this. So you take all of their manipulation tactics, pretend like maybe I don't understand it all the way. Let me break this all down. So I'm taking like this little thing that you sent me in this secured envelope you don't want anybody to look at. I'm like, well, hold on a sec. Let's open this up. I'm going to lay all this shit out on the table so we can all look at it together. Let's all take a look. And that's one of the best ways to do it.
Could you ground it in like an example? So let's say, for instance, out of the carver, someone's looking to control you. How would they use fog, fear, obligation, guilt?
Yeah.
As a real example, what would that look like?
Pick one of the CAVA acronyms.
Okay, so control.
So somebody wants control, and they want to use which out of the
Guilt.
fog? They want to use guilt.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll use your name for this. So I'll say, Lisa, the last time that you went out, some weird stuff happened, and it made me feel awful. You went out for your girls' night. I didn't hear back from you. You didn't text me for like 3 hours in a row. And I don't know, maybe it was bad service or something, but I sat back here at the house, worried if you were dead. I was sitting back here just worrying about you the whole entire time because you didn't check in with me. You didn't tell me where you were going. You didn't make sure you were in an area where I could even see your GPS location. And it makes me wonder, like, am I in a relationship with someone who even cares about how I'm feeling? That's exactly what that would look like.
Ooh, can I give you one more? That was so good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do carver, let's do validation, and then let's take fog, let's do obligation, because I don't know how that would actually pan out.
Okay, and I'll use you again.
Please do.
I hate acting this way.
You're so good though, I love this. Because here's what it does, it really grounds it into what that would actually look like. Yeah. So thank you for doing this.
Okay, so, all right. Lisa, I know that we've had this conversation several times, but you've told me that you support me. You've told me that you're here for me. You've told me that I'm the one bringing in the most money, so my career is the most important. Am I correct that you said those things?
Yes, you are.
I mean, we both agreed on this, and I'm not trying to like manipulate you or anything, but I'm going to work every single day. I've done this online college throughout the nights. I've done all of these things, and not once in the past 2 frickin' weeks have you said anything to me that I've gone above and beyond for everybody in this household. And I don't know, maybe you're manipulating me or something, but I haven't heard anything from you, and you promised me that these are your priorities.
I see it all.
Okay, good.
That was so good. Because, and I even love that you even dropped in, like, I'm not trying to manipulate her, I'm just saying the truth. Like that is almost a form of a manipulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll hear that comment like, I don't think you're trying to manipulate me, but, and they'll say that to you.
Okay. So I have a quote of yours that it's very simple, but just hit me like a ton of bricks. Mind control is pretty easy.
It is.
Talk to me about how easy mind control is and what are the steps of somebody influencing us.
If I could sum up mind control in one phrase, one sentence, it would be the ability to weaponize cognitive dissonance.
Ooh.
And if you think about how you get involved with a narcissist in a relationship and why you stay, that's weaponizing cognitive dissonance. If I can weaponize cognitive dissonance, I can get you to do anything. So cognitive dissonance is about your identity and who you think you are as a person. And in a narcissist relationship, it's, I'm a good wife, I'm a good woman, I'm a good supporter, I'm a good mom, I'm gonna stay here for the kids. So it's about identity. So if the moment something comes up that might challenge that identity, like my friend says, oh, Jennifer, you need to leave this relationship, I automatically delete that because it goes against what I believe first. And I would encourage anyone out there to just spend some time learning about cognitive dissonance. Because if you're doing mind control on a person, whether you're creating some crazy assassin to go do some CIA stuff, or you're manipulating somebody on a date, it's cognitive dissonance that you're creating. So you're kind of getting someone to build an identity, and there's 6 avenues to influencing the human brain. And these are focus. Can I get you to focus on me or the situation or whatever I want you to? Openness. How open can I get you to get so I can make you more vulnerable? And then we have connection. And connection is the degree to which a person feels like they are in sync with another person, just naturally connected. And then we have suggestibility. And this is the degree to which you will accept suggestions from someone. Like, maybe we should do X. And then you'll say, yeah, I will do that. It's like the ideal cult member is super high suggestible. Then we have compliance. And compliance is the degree to which you will accept and then act on those independently. So not us together, you'll do something independently. So that's compliance. And then expectancy. And expectancy is the degree to which you can generally predict the future of what we're doing here, or what's going on, is going to be positive. So if we take an extreme example, where total strangers were talked into committing murder in less than an hour, and this is the famous Milgram experiment. People thought they were volunteering for an experiment about learning. They go into this room at Yale University. It's got this shocking machine in there. And there's another volunteer who's actually an actor, and you watch him get strapped to this machine, and he's about to get shocked, and you're the person that's supposed to be shocking him. And he's right on the other side of this wall. And you read him these questions, and he answers through a push button that says like A, B, C, D. And every time he gets one wrong, you shock him and increase the voltage a little bit. Wrong, shock, increase voltage. So there's only one volunteer, which is you. The other guy's an actor. The guy in the lab coat is an actor who's like the scientist running the experiment. He looks like a doctor. He's got a clipboard and a lab coat and all this stuff. At about the midway point, you can hear him screaming.
The actor is screaming, the guy that's getting the electric shock.
Right. He's not getting shocked,
right.
But you
think he is.
We damn sure think he is. And he's saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I have a heart condition. Let me out of here. And you turn around to this guy in the lab coat, and you're like, well, what do you want me to do? And the guy in the lab coat says, the experiment requires that you continue. Please continue. So then you keep shocking. He's screaming. And around 300 volts, he stops making any sound. It's dead silent. And he's not answering the questions anymore. There's nothing coming from the other room. You turn around to the lab coat guy again, like, what do you want me to do, bro? And he says the same thing. Any non-answer must be treated as an incorrect answer. Please continue. Keep going. Then it finally gets to, on the machine it's labeled danger, severe shock, 450 volts. Shocking this person that you believe might be dead. And there's even clips of these people saying, oh, he might be dead in there. So let's think about, like, when it comes to persuasion and influence, people think it's hard to sell a car. People think it's hard to go on a date and talk someone into dating you. I would argue that it's harder to talk someone into murder. So when it comes to that 6-axis model, this is our hyper-responsiveness to authority. So like there's brand new things happening all the time, which is generating a ton of focus. And is there a lot of connection in this experiment? There's not. Is there expectancy? There's none. They don't know what the hell is going to happen next, or that it's positive. Mm-hmm. And there's no openness. The person's not sitting there shocking them, talking about their life secrets and all these little insecurities and stuff that they have. So all we have is focus, suggestibility, and compliance. And you get someone to become a murderer in less than an hour. So when we look at that 6-axis model, we're looking at a model where if you just capture 3 of those things, you can get someone to do almost anything. If you get 6, you're unlimited. You have unlimited control over a human being. But to capture control over a human being, you need 4 other things that are even more powerful than that 6-axis, and that's the fate model. And fate is how we control a animal brain. And we have a kind of an animal brain underneath our human one. So our brain evolved, so we think, in layers. And none of our mammalian brain can speak English. It's incapable of language completely. So if you think back to the Milgram experiment where people were made to be murderers, there's no sales script. There's no hypnosis being used. So there's no language. And that's so many people focus on the language. And if you think back to, like, if you've ever watched somebody maybe got away with something that they shouldn't have gotten away with, our first question in our head is, what did you say?
Oh.
What'd you say? And it's never what we say. It's what am I doing to control that mammalian brain? And if you think about just Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer guy, he uses that FATE model, F-A-T-E. That's focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. Those are the 4 ways to control an animal. If you get them all together, you have full control over the animal. If you control the animal, you control the human. So focus, then we know focus is generated through novelty. So especially in hearing this in terms of manipulators, if I'm seeing a lot of this weird novelty behavior, like, that's developing a tremendous amount of focus, because anytime something is new, our brain says, this is different. I didn't expect this. I don't have an app for this, right? So I need to pay attention. The second part is authority. And when it comes to authority, you sincerely are looking at a mixture of 5 things. And this is confidence, discipline, leadership, gratitude, and enjoyment. Those 5 factors trigger the human brain to think this person is an authority figure.
So as they're going through the study and the guy's in the white lab coat, it seemed like in that moment the manipulation is, I'm the authority, I know what's happening, you just need to follow my lead.
Correct. So our brains do not have a firewall, and they're riddled with loopholes. And this is the biggest loophole in the human brain, is response to authority. And this guy in the lab coat didn't need all this confidence and all this other stuff. All he needed was a little bit of composure and a lab coat, which is a loophole. And our brain says, oh, lab coat, doctor, medicine, that's an authority figure. So it's a bypass. So that's a perception of authority. If I can get you to perceive authority, you'll typically do what that person says to do. And it'll be incremental. I'm not going to say go jump off a building. I'm going to say, hey, step off of this carpet over here. Just take 1 step off. So these are incremental small compliances, and something you really need to watch out for. Am I getting incrementally asked to comply or do something in this relationship? It's kind of a wedge. So there's small things starting and kind of escalating over time. Then we can move into tribe. And when we get into tribe, we will do what the tribe does. And this is almost, there's maybe 10 people in the world who this doesn't apply to. Maybe you have a neurological condition or something like that, but any human will do what the tribe does. There's a study by this guy named Dr. Solomon Asch, and this was in the mid-70s, I think. And he has a card where there's 3 lines on it. They're all of different lengths. And there's a card over here that has 1 line that's the same length as one of these lines on this card. And the task is simple. You look at all these 3 lines, which line over here is equal to that line? Super easy. But there were 10 people at this table. 9 of them were actors. Only 1 of them was a volunteer. So as clear as day, the correct answer is A. As clear as can be. But when they go down the line of all these people, it's C, 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 C. And it gets to this last person, they go, C. Because everybody else did it. And that was 100%.
Wow.
100% of people would start going along with the crowd. Especially when it's public and when you make our behaviors public. When you have to write them down on a piece of paper, they chose the right one.
Yeah, I mean, look, when I think about going back to the tribe thing, they say now loneliness is worse than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It's worse than obesity. It's worse than alcoholism. So I go, okay, if loneliness is that bad for us, think about it. For survival mechanism back in the tribe days is that, well, of course, you would not want to be ostracized from your group, because that could mean either loneliness, hence, bad for your health, or actual death, because the bear's going to eat you and you've got no one to help. So being ostracized from a biological standpoint makes complete sense. But then it goes to, why do we not speak up?
Yeah, it's the ultimate taboo to talk about. Because let's go back to those tribal days. If I'm outcast from my tribe, who do I tell? So we're not allowed to talk about loneliness, and there's an epidemic of loneliness right now. And the number one thing that everybody should take from this is technology has outpaced our brain's ability to adapt. So like if you think that, like if you're scrolling Instagram, TikTok, or whatever during the day, anybody that believes their brain is immune to a $1 trillion computer is a moron. I don't think I'm immune, and I know every tactic in the book, every single mind control, hypnosis trick, everything you could ever find. I've got it, and I'm terrified of social media. I'm not immune to it, and it's an artificial placebo for tribe, but it doesn't give the brain fulfillment. It gives the brain this little weird placebo effect, top layer, without fulfilling any part of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I'm a big believer in Maslow's pyramid. So if I have this like social love, belonging, connectedness level, which is like we have like basic survival, like food and water and sex, and then we have belonging and all that other stuff. If that's pulled out, I can never go above that. Whatever level of Maslow's pyramid you are at in your life, you are automatically programmed genetically to worry about the thing right below it. So if I'm at this confidence thing, my worry is about this social belonging and all this other stuff. That's where I'm going to fall down to if my confidence goes away. So this is like the self-actualization part of the pyramid. And if I lose this belonging and love, then I'm worried about, like, I'm at survival level, like food and water. So if I lose that sense of belonging, everything's gone. My confidence, my sense of self, my well-being, my self-actualization, everything goes away because that one piece of the pyramid was pulled out.
Speaking of that then, social connection and technology, I think of the dating apps. It's like we've got the best commercial of what we look like. So it isn't necessarily the reality, just like the highlights. How would you even tell then if you're on a dating app and you're looking at people's profiles, what on earth would you look for to see if they're authentic or if they're trying to hide something?
When you're looking, how polished is the image? Do they need to do 10 takes before they put a photo up? Do they need, like, am I looking at a polished, presented thing here, or am I looking at a person who is comfortable with social injury? And I would say it's hard. First of all, it's very hard on a dating app. You're not always going to get accurate information because, I mean, there's so much AI now. AI could have written that description. The pictures could be AI. It may not even be a human that exists. Who knows? But I would say that if I was on a dating app today, aside from all the photos, the number one thing I would look for is there a statement of even tiny hint of vulnerability inside of that? I'm healthy, I run a lot of blah, 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 but somehow I'm addicted to Cheetos or something like that, something that's human. So am I seeing vulnerability? That's the only thing that I would be looking for. Do I see in the photos, in the description, real human being vulnerability?
Is there a statement or a question that you can ask that person that shows your vulnerability to then test them to see if they'll use it against you? Because again, going back to like the struggles that women really have is they put themselves out there, you go online dating, you meet this guy, and you're trying to know if they're sincere. Are they just trying to get, a one night stand? Are they just lying to, get a night with me? And so I just figured, how would you even test to see if they were sincere on an app?
I have a perfect question. It's one question.
Oh.
Are you authentic?
Just literally asking someone if they're authentic.
Yeah, because the inauthentic people are going to be like, oh yeah, absolutely. And the people who are genuinely authentic will kind of sit back and reflect on it for a second. You're going to see them genuinely think like, well, I think so. I mean, I have this thing that I kind of hide from people. I'm worried about some aspects. I hide some parts of myself. And you'll hear the answer. You're going to hear a lot less hesitation from somebody who is inauthentic. When you ask, are you an authentic person? They're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm the most authentic person you're ever going to meet. But I think it's going to be wildly different responses between those two different types of people.
The most inauthentic thing you can say.
Correct.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And the final E on the fate is emotion. So like, am I getting love bombed? There's a ton of this dopamine right at the beginning so that I'm continually coming back for this thing. So I'm getting this love bombing and I'm getting resource bombing. But the most important final element of this is, what am I being told to do quickly? Where am I being told I don't have enough time to really think about things? And if somebody says, hey, we're doing this, are you in or out? I only have one thing left. We've only got one seat left on the helicopter, whatever that is. I need to know in the next 5 minutes. That should be very, very scary. We're tribally wired in our DNA to respond to scarcity. Scarcity of water, scarcity of food, scarcity of social connection, whatever it is. Where am I being told that I don't have time to think about decisions? So the best insulator, number one insulator to prevent that stuff from happening is to say, I'm going to unplug this video game for one day before I plug it back in and think about it. Then all the dopamine's gone, and all I'm doing is, which is hard to do, is all I'm going to do is pause. So I have all this stuff, I have the focus, I've got all of this authority, I've got this tribal involvement here, I've got emotional involvement with this dopamine and resource bombing and love bombing. All I'm going to do, I'm not going to say stop, because it may be something good. Maybe it's a new church, and it's like churches do all kinds of stuff now. They sing and dance and do all kinds of stuff. It might be something that's good for you. Maybe it's a new therapist or a new group that you're joining that is not a cult at all. They have all of those elements: focus, authority, tribal emotion. Good things have those too. But if you push pause on those good things, you'll still feel good during the pause. If you push pause on the bad things, you're going to feel like shit because your dopamine's crashing. That's the difference.
Wow, and that scarcity, I mean, everything you just broke down was amazing and fascinating. And then thinking about the scarcity part, I mean, it's the biggest sales tactic, right? Like, special offer, ends tonight at 8 p.m, get it now, only 1 hour left. And so that, oh my God, what if I miss out? Then makes you make decisions without the clarity. So that's fascinating. And then you said something earlier about you being, I can't remember the word you used, but basically you're the brainwash master. And so I want to ask you, how on earth did Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy brainwash so many people for so long without being identified? If we can discover this and figure this out, I really hope there isn't another Diddy in waiting.
Okay, so this is a unique scenario where money and status was probably the most effective tool that they used. What is money? That's access to the bottom two levels of Maslow's pyramid. That's resources. I can get you food, I can get you a house. So I get you survival and resources, right? So that's money. And what's status? If I'm connected to somebody who's really high status, that's automatically, boom, love, belonging, and connection. Does this make sense? Now we're looking at Maslow's pyramid again. So then they become persuasion experts because they fulfill Maslow's pyramid or Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And there's a part two. So let's say I've got you into my little cult here. My next step is, all right, I've got to get Lisa to agree to participate in all this crazy shit that's going on here. So I have to make sure that it's okay with you. So this is where they would follow, and I'm hypothesizing here,
sure.
But this is where they would follow what I would call an interrogation formula. And to get you to confess, there's like 4 things I need to do. I need to socialize, minimize, rationalize, and project. So if we're in an interrogation, let's say you stole $10,000. I'd say, Lisa,
Can we do something like have an affair?
Yeah.
Because that's sort of something that I think a lot of my audience struggle with. Like, I'm not sure if my guy's cheating on me.
Oh yeah. So let's go through socialize, minimize, rationalize, and project again. So this, I think a lot of people would understand, and anybody looking from the outside, this would make perfect sense. And it does make perfect sense because we haven't been intimate in a very long time, and you're a man, you need intimacy. So that's socialize, rationalize, then we minimize. And in all reality, it was just a night with some girl. It wasn't a big deal. This is not a big deal. People go through really big problems in relationships. This is not a huge thing. Now project. Now project is when it's not your fault. So at the end of the day, this makes sense. And this is not your fault. I brought this on you. I knew that you were a man. I knew you had needs, and I knew you needed to fulfill those, and I chose not to do it. So John, all I'm really asking here is this something you've been doing for like 10 years, or is this like you made a mistake? So that's called the alternative question. So like, let's say you took $10,000, I would say, were you stealing this for human trafficking? Or, and I'm exaggerating here.
Of course.
Were you stealing this to fund human trafficking, or were you trying to pay your aunt's chemotherapy bills? Because I think you are a good person. So at the end, that alternative question is, all I want to know is like, has this been happening for years, or is this just a little mistake that you made? So if it was a mistake, then we can get through this and we can get past it. You're not saying I'm not going to break up with you. You're not making promises, nothing like that. You can say we can move past it. We can get through it, which is meaningless, but it helps the person to be more vulnerable and saying, okay, yeah, I haven't been doing this for years. I promise I haven't been doing this for years. It was just a one-time mistake. So it's that socialize, minimize, rationalize, project, and then that alternative question. Is it this bad thing, or did you just make a mistake? And that is the best way to get somebody to confess.
Wow.
So back to Epstein. So now I have to use those same techniques to make you think that it's okay. So, and this is a cult doing the same thing. So now you come in here.
Thank you, by the way, for calling them cult. I think it's really important. I think they are
It is a cult. Yeah, and not all cults are bad. I was in the U.S. military, which is very much.
Oh, you'd call the U.S. military cult? Huh.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you join this organization, they shave your head. They control your entire life. They make you chant all these things all at the same time. You have to walking in the same steps in this marching line.
Oh my God,
it's very, very cult-like. So let's say you've just joined into this little Epstein group. Socialize is number one. I have to convince you that lots of people are doing this. Look at all these people that are doing this. These are powerful people, so I'm using authority, that are doing this. These are rich people. Everybody is sane here, and this is okay. It's socially okay. And it makes sense. So now we're into rationalize. And it makes sense because X, Y, and Z. There's all these people doing it. We have natural instincts as human beings. We're hardwired for sex. Men are hardwired to like younger women. I feel disgusting saying this, but, and then we minimize. And in reality, they're old enough to consent, and these people are old enough to make their own decisions, and it's not a big deal. We're just having fun for like 30 minutes, and everybody's enjoying it. That's minimize. And then project. And it's not your fault. It's programmed into human DNA. Everybody has these feelings. It's just a few people that are brave enough to act on them. So I'm socializing it, I'm rationalizing it, minimizing it, and projecting so you don't feel at blame. And in reality, the projection may be onto Epstein himself. We're like, well, Epstein invited me here. Epstein gave me alcohol. Epstein introduced me to this girl. Epstein said, hey, go get a massage. Go into this other room. So that final part of projection may not be some verbal thing that happens. It may just be like, I'm kind of an agent. I'm acting on behalf of. I'm doing this because something happened. So that projection is that final step that allows, I'm going to do something that I would never normally do, which is like confessing to a crime or doing some crazy stuff with one of these idiots. So that projection takes place as the final step. So like I don't want to do this. This is not really who I am. And then somebody says, it's not a big deal and it's not your fault at all. It's someone else's fault that you're about to do this. And it gives you this opening freedom. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, 1,000%. And it's, especially the Diddy thing, I didn't really know Epstein until this whole thing had happened. So it wasn't really on my radar until then. But I grew up listening to Diddy. I grew up listening to all of his music and idolizing him. And at 18 years old, if I came to America and I was invited to a P. Diddy party, I would have gone. If I was invited to the back room of a P. Diddy party, I would have gone. And so thinking about how a lot of women are impressionable and how people use that against us and how that becomes the big trap. So that's one of the things I'm always trying to grasp at, because I really do fear there's a P. Diddy in waiting. Because we went from Harvey Weinstein to Epstein to Diddy. Like, it feels like there's a lot of powerful, I hate to say it, but a lot of powerful men that are using money and power for nefarious reasons. And so I can't impact or make a guy not do it. but I can hopefully try and teach and bring on people that can start to shine a light on the traps that we get into. I mean, you hear some of these stories, it shapes the women for the rest of their lives. One of the women that was on like Making of the Band, you see a video of her when she first meets Diddy. She looks so sweet and innocent, and then you see a video of her now, admits she's just fucked up.
Yeah.
And that type of impact on so many different women, I really want to put a stop to it. So grasping out what are the things that they're looking for, how do we get trapped, and then how does it get hidden for so long? Like, those are the things that I'm really trying to figure out, so that hopefully each way we can try and stop these people from doing it.
Yeah, the reason that it gets hidden for so long is that it goes back to what we've been talking about. In every scenario, this always comes back. It's a fear of social injury. My tapes are going to be released. Someone's going to expose me. All my secrets are going to be there. So that's Maslow's pyramid. It's going to delete that level, and everything above it disappears once that level goes away. And in reality, what people need to do, especially young girls, I have a daughter who's 17, and you need to think, am I being influenced by authority? Am I seeing authority or a good person? Because especially for the female brain, it's hardwired to respond to like male authority, like tribal leader status. And that bypasses a lot of your critical abilities of like, is this good for me? Is this the right thing to do? Should I be doing this? Is it healthy? Authority trumps a lot of that. And so anytime you start programming your kids, and I would say this to moms and dads everywhere, this starts when they're 4, this starts when they're 3, and they go to the doctor, and your behavior around that doctor will dictate how they behave around authority. Will you tell your kid, like, that doctor is your employee, you're in charge of the doctor, you tell the doctor what to do, you tell the doctor the problems, the doctor works for you. I'm not telling my kid to be a dick, we're still respectful, we say Mr., Mrs., yes ma'am, yes sir. But you're in charge of that doctor. So we start teaching early on, recognize the difference between authority and perceived authority. Those two things. It's the biggest thing we can teach our kids. It's the biggest thing I could ever pass on to, especially young girls that are watching your podcast. So recognize the authority. Where is my focus being trapped? So like, is someone saying, don't go out anymore, don't go to that place anymore, you need to hang out with us for 1 straight week. So I need when is someone trying to narrow down my level of focus and attention? It's being narrowed on something, then there's an authority figure, and what's the final element? It's the tribe. And now it's everybody's doing this is socially acceptable. I'm seeing lots of people agree with this. I'm seeing lots of other people comply. So it's just like the lines experiment, where which line is here, which line is there, and everybody's saying this. I'll say something that defies reality just because other people did the same thing.
That's fascinating. And then one other thing I think is a lot of us women have been taught to not listen to our gut intuition. And we just see what the expert says. We don't necessarily tap in. We just go, well, they're the expert, they must know. And you actually have a list of, if you focus on these 5 things, your gut intuition will be clearer and louder. Do you mind taking us through those 5 things?
So managing and being completely in charge of your environment is step number 1. And this is everything about you. So like, if you go out and you want to look like you've got your shit together, you need to have your shit together. It makes so much difference in our psychology and how much control we have over ourselves and the world around us. If I want control of me, that starts with where I spend my time. Do I pick up after myself? Do I put the toothbrush back where it's supposed to go? And then time. The number one thing about time, and